Hey everyone, Miss Mobile here. So today we're going to be dividing a whole number by a decimal. So last video you did the opposite. You had a decimal dividing it by a whole number, and now those numbers have flipped. So if you look at our first example here, you'll notice that there's a whole number inside the house and there's a decimal on the outside, okay? And I have it set up in box method as well. So the saying to help you with this, when you see a decimal on the side, meaning it's next to our dividend or it's the divisor, it's on the side of the house. When you see a decimal on the side, slide, slide. Okay, so if a decimal is on the side, slide, slide. So what does that mean? So it's way easier to divide when you have whole numbers. It's hard to divide when you have part of a number. So because we talked about dividing decimals earlier this week, as well as multiplying a couple weeks ago, because of the number system and the way that it works, if I slide this decimal over, now it becomes a whole number. Now it's the number 6. So basically, I slid this decimal over one time. So down here, I'm sliding this decimal over one time. Now, just like with fractions, whatever you do to the top, you must do the same thing to the bottom. But with dividing, it's whatever you do to the inside or the outside, you have to do the same thing to the inside. So where is the decimal in the number 426? Well, we talked about it before. That's hidden right there. We just don't write it. So if we slide this decimal over one time, what do you think we're going to have to do with this one? Yeah, we got to slide it over one time. So we got to slide, slide. You get it? Slide, slide. So you got to remember to slide the outside, slide the inside. So what do you think we're going to put in that empty space? Yeah, we're going to put a 0. Okay? So if I were to do 426 divided by 6/10, it's the same thing as if I were to do 4,260 divided by 6. And that's the awesome part about our number system, okay? So what does that mean for box method, people? So because you've got to slide your decimal over, that means you've got to slide by adding another number or another box. So make sure you leave some space, okay? So now that we have that, we could technically erase all these decimals because we know it's over here. And we also know it's over here. So now we don't have to worry about it. It's just basic long division or box method, whatever you like to use, okay? So let's think first. How many times can 6 go into 42? Well, it can go in 7 times because 6 times 7 is 42 because it can't go into 4, okay? 6 times 7 is exactly 42. So remember, divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, okay? That's something you got to have on lock. So when you subtract, you get 0, and 0 is less than 6, so we can bring down that 6 or bring over that 0, okay? How many times can 6 go into 6? Well, 6 can go into 6 exactly 1 time, so we're going to put that 1 there. 6 times 1 is 6, and once you do that, you subtract, and you're left with 0. 0 is less than 6, so that means we can bring down the 0, or in this case, bring over the 0. And how many times can 6 go into 0? Yes, 0 times. So what do you think you have to put there? A 0. Don't forget about that a lot if you did that when we were working with just whole numbers, okay? So if 6 cannot go into 0, you have to say it can't go in 0 times, okay? Big difference between 71 is our answer and 710, which is the correct answer, okay? So in this case, when the decimal's on the side, slide, slide. So let's try another one. I'm going to erase this. All right, mathematicians, let's try another one. So again, if a decimal is on the side, slide, slide. So here's our next example. We're doing 11 divided by 25 hundredths, or this is read as a quarter as well, okay? So again, we want to slide that decimal over as many times as we need to make it a whole number, because whole numbers are very easy to divide. So you gotta ask yourself, how many times do I have to slide this decimal over so that's a whole number? So if I slide it over once, it would be 2 5/10. Is that a whole number? Nope, because we still say a decimal there. We said and. So we gotta slide it over again. What would be that number? 25, okay, which is a whole number. So we had to slide it over how many times? 2 times, okay? So same thing down here. So we had to slide it 2 times. So that means we've got to slide that decimal that's currently next to that 1 and the 11 in the ones place that we don't write. We got to slide that over how many times? 2 times. So we're going to go 1, 2, or box, you're going to go 1, 2, just like so. Okay? So what are you going to put in those places? Zeros. Because if we were to do 11 divided by 2500ths, it's the same thing as doing, in our case, 1,100 divided by 25. That's our new problem, okay? So again, this goes back to now your basic division. So how many times can 25 go into 1? Well, it can't. Okay, so then you ask yourself, how many times can 25 go into 11? Still can't. Okay, so now we're up to 110. So how many times can 25 go into 110? So think quarters, 25, 50, 75, $1, $1.25. Well, that's too many. So it could only go in 4 times. So that's what we're going to put above. So 4. 25 times 4 is what? Well, that's 100. And we're going to subtract, and we're left with 10. Is 10 less than 25? Yep, so that means we can bring down the 0. Or in our case, bring over the 10. Either way, you've got 100 left now. How many times can 25 go into 100? Yep, 4 times, because we just figured that out. So 25 can go exactly into 100 4 times, because 25 times 4 is 100. Subtract, and we're left with 0, which 0 is less than 25. Nothing else to bring down, so what's our answer? You got it, it is 44. There you go. All right, we're gonna try one more example, one of those ones that's a little bit tougher than the others. Let's see if you can handle it. All right, here we go. So this is gonna be our last example. So we have 300 divided by 800ths. Okay, so lots of zeros in this one, so you gotta keep them all straight. So again, if the decimal's on the side, which here it is, we're going to slide. So we're going to slide that decimal over until it's a whole number. So we can either slide it once, not a whole number, twice, now it is. So we're going to slide it 2 times, okay? Which means what do we have to do with our hidden decimal that is not actually drawn? Yep, we got to slide it over 2 times. So 1, 2. If you want to pause the video right now because you think you know what you're doing and you want to try it on your own, go for it, okay? Otherwise, stick with me. All right, so now we have 8 here and 30,000 here. It's getting big, but like I said, we can handle it. So you got to ask yourself, how many times can 8 go into 3? Well, it can't, or we can say 0 times. Okay, so then we look at our first 2 digits. How many times can 8 go into 30? Well, 8 times 4 is 32, so that'd be too many. So 8 times 3 is 27, so it can go in 3 times. 27, 24, 9 times 3 is 27. Oh boy, here we go. 8 times 3 is 24. See, teachers make mistakes all the time, and I'm still going with the flow. So 8 times 3 is 24. We're going to subtract that. So you can either do 30 minus 24, or if you want to come borrow and do 10 minus 4, which is 6, and 2 minus 2, which is 2. Either way, you're going to have 6 left over, and is 6 less than 8? Yep, so bring it over or bring down that next 0. So you got to ask yourself, how many times can 8 go into 60? Well, 8 times 8 is 64, which is too many. So 8 times 7 is what we've got to do. And 8 times 7 is 56. So we got to subtract 56. What do we have left? 16 minus 56 is 4. Or again, if you want to come borrow over here, you'd still get the same thing. 4 is less than 8, so that means we can bring down our next 0 or bring that 4 over from our box, people. Ask yourselves, how many times can 8 go into 40? Well, 8 can go into 45 times, because 8 times 5 is 40 exactly. 5 times. I'm going to run out of room, just like always, okay? So we've got 0 left here, okay? So we bring that 0 over or bring that 0 down. And again, we ask ourselves, how many times can 8 go into 0? Yeah, 0 times, so you have to make sure you put that 0 there. You can't leave it blank. As we talked about with long division, you need to have a number above every digit once you get it started. Or box people, you gotta have a number above each box. Okay, so what is our answer? 3,750. There you go. All right, so today you're going to be doing problems very similar to this. Please use paper, pencil to show your work because as you see, it's gonna take up a little bit of space. But one thing you gotta remember, if a decimal's on the side, slide, slide.